Hello guys, and welcome to yet another video. It is literally 4 minutes to midnight right now after a football game, and I am very tired. Your host is tired, I'm sorry. So, we're going to ramble about how I did this painting that you are watching me do. So if you will all remember, I officially started my wonderful Hollow Knight stream series last weekend on Saturday. Which means that this week, obviously, I had to do a Hollow Knight painting, because I don't have anything else planned for this week, I don't think. Do I? No, I don't. Okay, sorry, I can see my calendar from here anyways. But I didn't have anything else planned for this week, so in the spirit of leaning more towards explaining how I do my art, as opposed to rambling about random things, I thought I would do that today. So I started out this paint. I used 5 different supplies, if you don't count the paintbrushes, for this entire painting. And a canvas, but, you know, that doesn't count. So I have my 8x10 canvas, and I started out sketching this piece with a gray water-based fine liner. I got it at a whole set of a bunch of colorful fine liners, but they turned out to be water-based, and I didn't know. So mostly I use them for sketches, for things like when I'm making clothes and whatnot. So I started this out sketching in that. While I was sketching in the beginning, I had to make a decision of whether or not I wanted to paint the main character and the things in the foreground first and paint around that, or if I wanted to do the whole background and then sketch on top. So I eventually decided that I just wanted to do the background. So I marked where my horizon line was going to be and got started. So the 3 paint colors that I used for this piece were cerulean blue, if that's how you pronounce it, black, and white, all from the Daler Rowney Simply collection, or that other random collection that's there with them in Walmart. I use Walmart paints, and I only use Daler Rowney instead of Apple Barrel because it takes just a little bit longer for it to dry, and I just like it better. Don't ask me why. It's difficult to explain. Anyways. So, for the background, I started out with my black paint. I decided to avoid that little hut thing that I have there in the background. I sketched that. So I started out with my black paint, and I thought my focal point is in the middle of this piece. So, the best way to draw attention to that would be to make that area more colorful than everything else. So with the background, I took my black paint, and the first thing I did was make a loop around the entire edge of what was going to be the background, aside from underneath the horizon line where the ground was, you know. Things like that. And after that, I went to my white, and I dulled it down, and got the blue, and worked it into some areas. You notice that the blue is not very heavy in any of this. It's just there, really. I mean, the video game isn't all that colorful either. There are a lot of really bright, beautiful things in the video game, but the most color you get is that blue. And there's not really a lot of it until you get to some places in the game. But anyways, so the background is very simple. It's not like I worked incredibly hard at it. And I can't remember if I did the stalactites first or if I did the hut first, but I'm going to talk about the stalactites first because I cannot remember. So whatever. For the stalactites, they were really simple. After the background dried up, I just took my black paint and painted up there in little triangular-ish shapes and squiggled around my paintbrush. I mean, that easy. The hut, however, was a little bit more complicated. So to do the hut, I took my black paint and put it where I figured the shadows might be. So I put all of the shadows to the right because my light source was coming to the left-ish. And I put them in all the lines because I figured that would accentuate what was going on, because I knew for a fact that I was going to take everything that I was painting in detail and blur it in the end, which is why it looks so blurred towards the end of the video, because I put water all over the top of it deliberately to blur it after a lot of it had dried, so that not all of the detail would be lost. I thought that would be good to draw the focal to the character in the first place, but back to what I was saying, I put black into all of the shadows and then worked out from white, and then put in a little bit of blue and added some more white to blend it together. And then after all of that had been put down, I just took some water, put it right on top, got my mop brush and swished it around until it was no more. And then after that, I didn't like the way the stalactites were looking anymore, so I added a couple more, added some little black spots up there on the top, and overall I thought it looked good. for the bottom of the horizon line, that's the ground, I basically did what I did in the background, but made it streaky. I started out with a black, and instead of putting black directly on the horizon line, well, I did, but that's not where the ground is. It's working up from the bottom, from the ground up. I know it really doesn't seem like it makes any sense, but I just think it looked good. But I worked from the edges, and it got lighter and just a little bit more blue, but there isn't much blue there in the ground because I wanted it to be sort of like part of the character. And part of the juxtaposition between the character and the background in these pieces so far is that the character is always just black and white. There's no color in this character. You know what I mean. Moving on, the next thing I decided that I wanted to work on was the light post. So during ACT prep the other day, I actually was working on drawing this light post. One thing I forgot in this light post are the ridges between all of the curlicues. But I decided I wanted to do the light post first and leave the character for last. I thought the character would be the easiest thing to do between the two of them. So to start out with my light post, I got my black paint. No, I didn't. I got a dark blue colored pencil, also from the Daler-Rowney Simply collection. As you can see, I really like their shit, but, you know, it is how it is. I got a pencil from that collection, and I sketched both the character and the light post just so I could get them settled where they needed to be. So starting work on the light post, I got my black paint, and I painted the entire thing black, because the light post is mostly black. I mean, there are highlights and things, but I was going to do that after that. So I painted my light post, and the next thing that I wanted to work on was the light. So the first thing that I tried to do was splotch some white on there, okay? That's what I tried to do. I painted in the actual light portion of the lamppost, and then I tried to just splotch some white on there, and that did not work. So while I was trying to remove it, I accidentally managed to smudge it into, like, a glow, and I was like, whoa. So the way I did that is I just put water on it and rubbed it around, and it just worked, and I'm really not sure exactly why that is the way that that happened, but that's how that happened. So that's what I did. After that, it didn't seem quite enough. You know what I mean? It wasn't quite right. It was something, but it wasn't something, if that makes any sense to any of you. So, what I decided I needed to do was add just some pure white spots, because a lot of my glowing light sources were, of course, just gray now because they'd been mixed into the background. I mean, the background came up a little bit because there's so much water in it to start with. I had that problem while I was working on a different piece a few months ago, actually. It's a larger piece and also had a lot of watercolor in it, but, you know, you can't blame me. It's fun to do some mixed media. But anyways, after that, I went through the light post, and I painted back in some of the darker areas of the light post, because a lot of it got very blurred when I was smudging around all that white to make the glows. So I painted it back black in some places and added the highlights where they needed to be. Most of the highlights are on the left. I can't explain why. I just did it that way because that's sort of the way it was done in the art that I was using as reference. And it's, I'm really not entirely sure why they had it that way, but they did. So my next course of action was, of course, the character. And the character was very simple. I started out painting the body because it was mostly black, and I figured I didn't need more than 1 or 2 coats. It only took 1, actually, so that's wonderful. We like only having to take 1 coat. The next thing I decided I needed to do was put the first coat of white on the character's head, and then I dried that and put a second coat and then did his eyes. I thought that that would be the best course of action, and it was. After that, I mixed up a gray, I put in his cloak, I put the lines in his cloak. I thought I was done for a second, and then I decided that no, I was not done. Obviously, I need to add a little bit of splotchy shading to his head, and I did, and I think it really did add something to the piece. I'm not sure exactly what it added, but it just made me happier with the piece. So now, I was finished with it. I looked at it, and honestly, I think it is one of the best pieces of fan art I've ever done. I am honestly so happy with this piece, and I don't know how that happened, because I finished it right after having a panic attack in the band hall, so How this occurred, I do not know, but it occurred. And I have a very wonderful piece, and it makes me happy, and I'm glad that I managed to do that. Anyways, thank you all for listening to me ramble about how I paint things. If you would like to listen to me ramble about other shit, there's some more shit on my channel. You can go check that out if you want. I don't care. Don't forget to comment down below anything else that you would like me to don't forget to comment if there's anything else that you would like me to try to paint. You can comment topics of discussion, stories for me to read. You know, I do all sorts of random crap on this channel. There's no telling what I might do, and if you suggest it, who knows, maybe I'll do it. But thank you for watching. Again, I'm very repetitive right now. It's tiring. I'm tired. Thanks for watching. It was a pleasure having you on the channel. If you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to have you back again next week. I'll meet you Sunday. Goodbye.